Imagine for a moment that you have been transported back in time, 50,000 years ago. You are standing in the middle of a vast, unforgiving wilderness. The survival of your small nomadic tribe depends entirely on being able to read the subtle signs of nature, tracking elusive prey across harsh terrain, remembering the exact locations of seasonal water sources over hundreds of miles, and noticing the faintest rustle in the tall grass that might signal a stalking predator. In this brutal, high-stakes environment, generalized social skills and casual small talk are practically useless. Instead, what your tribe desperately needs is someone with an extraordinary ability to focus deeply, someone who notices details that everyone else misses, someone who thrives on routine, and someone who can categorize and remember vast amounts of environmental data. In other words, your tribe needed a mind that today we might label as autistic. For decades, modern society has viewed autism primarily through a medical lens, often categorizing it strictly as a disorder, a set of deficits that need to be managed or corrected to fit into a neurotypical world. We look at traits like hyperfocus, sensory sensitivity, strict adherence to routines, and intense special interests, and we ask how these fit into our modern classrooms and corporate offices. But what if we are asking the wrong question? What if we zoom out and look at the entire timeline of human evolution? When we do, a fascinating new perspective emerges. Evolutionary psychologists and anthropologists are increasingly arguing that autism isn't a glitch in human evolution. It is a vital, naturally occurring variation in human neurology that provided our ancient ancestors with distinct survival advantages. Think about the way the autistic mind processes information. Many autistic individuals experience the world with heightened sensory perception. Lights might seem brighter, sounds louder, textures more intense. In a modern, fluorescent-lit, noisy office building, this can lead to sensory overload and exhaustion. But take that same nervous system and place it in a Paleolithic forest. That heightened sensory awareness suddenly transforms into a life-saving early warning system. An individual who can hear the snap of a twig from an incredible distance, or who can distinguish the subtle difference in the scent of an approaching storm versus an approaching animal, becomes the ultimate sentinel for the tribe. They are the ones who detect the saber-toothed cat before anyone else does. They are the ones who notice that the color of a specific berry is slightly off, preventing the tribe from consuming something toxic. Do you think you would want someone with highly tuned senses guarding your camp at night? Let me know down in the comments how you think sensory differences would change how you experience the wilderness. Let's dive deeper into the concept of special interests and hyperfocus. In the modern world, spending 12 hours straight organizing a collection or researching a highly specific topic might be seen as an eccentricity. But in the context of ancient survival, this ability to completely immerse oneself in a specific task is a superpower. Our ancestors needed experts. They needed individuals who could spend hours upon hours meticulously chipping away at a piece of flint to craft the perfectly balanced spearhead, ignoring hunger, fatigue, and social distractions until the tool was flawless. They needed people who possessed the intense dedication required to track an animal for days, analyzing every bent blade of grass and displaced pebble with systematic precision. The autistic tendency to systemize, to analyze the variables in a system, derive the underlying rules, and predict behaviors, was perfectly suited for mastering the complexities of the natural world. A hunter who systemizes animal behavior can predict where the herd will be tomorrow. A gatherer who systemizes plant life cycles knows exactly when and where the medicinal herbs will bloom. If you're finding this evolutionary perspective on human neurology fascinating, or if you know someone who possesses these incredible traits of deep focus and systematic thinking, hit that like button to show your support for neurodiversity. Consider also the importance of routine and repetition. Many autistic people find great comfort in predictability and strict adherence to routines, often struggling when plans change unexpectedly. In a volatile, ancient world, routine was literally the difference between life and death. You couldn't afford to be spontaneous with your food storage. You couldn't be casual about maintaining the fire. The individuals who meticulously followed the established protocols, who made absolutely certain that the fire was banked exactly the right way every single night, who checked the perimeter of the camp with unwavering consistency, were the backbone of the tribe's security. Their need for order and predictability brought stability to a chaotic environment. Furthermore, we have to look at memory. The autistic profile often includes a highly developed rote memory and the ability to recall vast amounts of factual information. Before the invention of writing, a tribe's entire encyclopedia of knowledge had to be stored in the minds of its members. They needed human hard drives. Someone had to remember the migration routes of animals spanning decades. Someone had to memorize the intricate landscapes, the location of water holes that only filled every few years, and the complex genealogies of neighboring tribes to avoid conflict. An individual with an encyclopedic memory for geographical layouts, plant properties, and seasonal changes was essentially the tribe's greatest technological asset. They were the keepers of the collective knowledge. It is also highly likely that individuals with autistic traits filled specialized, highly respected roles within these ancient communities. Anthropologists have noted that in many traditional societies, individuals who display characteristics we associate with autism, such as a preference for solitude, deep focus, and unique ways of perceiving the world, are often drawn to and chosen for roles like the shaman, the healer, or the master craftsman. These roles required long periods of isolation, the memorization of complex rituals, and a deep, almost obsessive connection with the specific details of their craft. Rather than being pushed to the margins of society because they didn't excel at typical social mingling, they were elevated because their unique cognitive style allowed them to perform essential functions that the more socially focused members of the tribe simply could not handle. I'm curious, what are your thoughts on this? Can you think of a specific skill or hobby where an intense, almost obsessive focus gives someone a massive advantage today? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I really want to read your perspective on this. So, why has this perspective been lost? Why do we now so often pathologize these traits? The answer lies in how rapidly our environment has changed. Human evolution is a slow, gradual process, taking tens of thousands of years. But human society, particularly over the last few centuries, has transformed at blinding speed. We have moved from small, specialized tribes where everyone had a unique role to massive, industrialized societies that demand conformity. The modern world heavily prioritizes generalized social skills, the ability to rapidly shift attention between multiple superficial tasks, and the capacity to function in loud, bright, highly stimulating environments. We have built a world that is tailored for the neurotypical brain, and in doing so, we have inadvertently created an environment that disables the autistic mind. The traits themselves haven't suddenly become defective. It is the environment that has become hostile. When we understand this, it changes everything about how we view neurodiversity. It shifts the conversation away from finding a cure and towards finding accommodation and acceptance. If you are autistic, your brain is not broken. You are carrying the genetic legacy of the specialists, the sentinels, the master craftsmen, and the knowledge keepers who helped humanity survive its most challenging eras. Your neurology is a critical thread in the diverse tapestry of human cognitive evolution. If you are finding value in this deep dive into the hidden history of human psychology, and you want to keep exploring the fascinating ways our minds work, please consider subscribing to the channel. We release new videos every week breaking down complex ideas about human behavior, wealth, and self-improvement, and having you as part of the community really helps us grow. Recognizing the evolutionary value of autism also holds profound implications for how we structure our modern society. We are currently facing complex global challenges, from climate change to the need for advanced technological innovation, that require exactly the kind of deep, systematic, out-of-the-box thinking that the autistic mind excels at. The tech industry has already begun to realize this, with many top companies actively recruiting neurodivergent talent because they recognize that different brains solve problems differently. But this understanding needs to extend far beyond Silicon Valley. It needs to reach our educational systems, our workplaces, and our everyday social interactions. Imagine a school system that, instead of forcing every child to conform to a single standard of social interaction and learning style, recognized and nurtured deep special interests from a young age. Imagine workplaces that offered flexible environments, reducing sensory overload and allowing employees to hyper-focus on their strengths rather than punishing them for a lack of office politicking. By accommodating neurodiversity, We aren't just being charitable. We are unlocking a vast reservoir of human potential that we desperately need. We need the systemizers to write our complex code and engineer our future infrastructure. We need the deep focus of researchers to cure diseases. We need the pattern recognition skills to analyze complex data sets that neurotypical minds might gloss over. Just as our ancient ancestors relied on cognitive diversity to survive the harsh wilderness, our modern survival and progress depend on embracing the full spectrum of human neurology. The story of human evolution is not a story of uniformity. It is a story of diversity. It is the story of how different skills, different perspectives, and different ways of processing the world came together to form resilient communities. The next time you encounter someone who thinks differently, who fixates intensely on a specific passion, or who interacts with the world in a unique way, remember that you are not looking at a deficit. You are looking at an evolutionary masterpiece. You are looking at a mind designed for deep expertise, a mind that, for countless generations, was the key to our collective survival. Let's continue this conversation. How can we better structure our modern workplaces and schools to actually support and utilize neurodivergent strengths rather than fighting them? Drop your best ideas in the comments. Thank you for watching. And remember that true wealth isn't just about finances. It's about understanding the immense value within ourselves and each other. See you in the next video.